Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head down to Brazil once again, and we're going to continue on with the Brazilian mini-series of beers that you're going to be enjoying on the channel over the next little while. So we're going to return to Sao Paulo for this one, which seems to be a little bit of a beer hub actually, somewhere I guess that I need to visit at some point in the future. That's definitely something I would like to do. And for this review we're going to have a look at a beer from another brewery that hasn't featured on the channel before. So this one comes to you from Cervejaria Dogma, who apparently have a very good reputation, and I will apologise in advance because this can is going to mess with the camera a little bit. So this beer is called The Reflection. It comes in at 6.4% ABV, and they're describing this one as a juicy IPA. So yeah, very curious to see how this one turns out. Hopefully it's another good beer, but as I say, the Brazilians seem very capable when it comes to their craft beers. The Brazilian beer scene has a real reputation for being, you know, really quite bold and quite out there actually, so it's really nice to be able to review some Brazilian beers for you here on the channel, and I seriously hope that you guys enjoy this little Brazilian mini-series as we've dubbed it. So yeah, very curious to try this one as I always am, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer as well. Definitely nice to introduce Cervejaria Dogma here on the channel for the very first time. So yeah, let's see how we get on then. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my future reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Cervejaria Dogma. This is the very first time I'm trying one of their beers, as I mentioned. There's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there now for the Brazilian beers that I've reviewed for you, and that's going to be added to over the next little while, and fingers crossed we can continue to add to that regularly. I would absolutely love that, to review the Brazilian beers as regularly as we can. That would be great, as well as trying some of the stuff from the other South American countries as well. But as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Cervejaria Dogma then, on to my brewery notes. So Cervejaria Dogma, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in Sao Paulo, and the company was founded back in 2014. Apparently though, this brewery started out as 3 different brands that were created by 3 different brewers. So involved in this company then is Leonardo Sat, who founded the brand Prima Sat, there's Luciano Silva, who was Noturna, and then there's also Bruno Moreno, who was Serra de Tres Pontas. So all of these guys were producing beer under their own names, but the following year in 2015 they decided that they should unify into a single brand, and this was when Cervejaria Dogma was created officially, or the Dogma brand I guess you could say was created officially. So for the first few years of their existence they gypsy brewed, and they won the award for the best Brazilian brewery in 2015 from Rate Beer. They went up to California to collect the award apparently, and then they launched their beers in cans the following year in 2016. So in 2017, the Sao Paulo government apparently changed the zoning laws, and this allowed the creation of brew pubs, and so Dogma founded theirs in St. Cecilia, and they started off in this place with a capacity to brew around 3,500 litres per month. But apparently at the moment they're planning to open up a few further sites, and they will appear hopefully sometime in 2021 from what I gather, so that should be pretty interesting actually. But as of December 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 250 different kinds of beer, so they are pretty damn prolific actually. I think that's definitely a fair statement to make about Cervejaria Dogma. But like I said, these guys are very highly regarded in Brazil, and fingers crossed we can see a few more of their beers making it over here to Europe at some time in the future. But I think this one should be a really interesting one to start off with. This is supposed to be a really quite nice beer. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Cervejaria Dogma for the moment. As I say, if you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate page to learn more about all of those different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. So as you can see, the artwork on this one is quite interesting. I put the can around to the side a little bit because I thought it was nice to have this rather than just, you know, the plain blank front that it has. But yeah, basically this is, it's actually just a kind of plastic wrapping that they've got on this one, which is quite common on beers these days, but usually they're coloured. This one is, you know, just colourless. But yeah, let me just tip that so that you guys can see. There it is, reflection, and you can see down here on the side, let me just check, they're saying that Cervejaria Dogma just right here underneath my fingertips. Let me just put that up to the camera there. But yeah, you can also see on this one, where was it here? It's got a few kind of things in Portuguese that I am not going to be able to translate for you, definitely not. But yeah, it says here, this one, oh, Itupeva as well. I guess Itupeva must be one of the kind of bigger districts or something in Sao Paulo, but that district in particular seems to have quite a lot of beer activity. So yeah, that is pretty cool. But yeah, as I mentioned to you at the start of the video, this one is a 6.4% New England IPA. So yeah, this I think should be pretty nice. You can see at the top there, I do like the little almost Illuminati type thing at the top of this, so pretty cool. You can see the little hop flower in the middle of that, so that's definitely quite cool. 473ml can, this one, so 1 American pint, and I think I paid about, you know, 6 or 7 euros for this through Beer Dome in the Netherlands. And again, I've told you that I just bought an order from them because they had a lot of these interesting Brazilian beers, and I didn't know when I was going to get the opportunity to get hold of these again, so it was a case of, you know, bugger it, why not? So yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Really curious to see what this beer has in store for us. So yeah, a little bit of froth on the opening there, but let's get it out and into the glass. I wasn't able to find out what hops were in this one, unfortunately. It wasn't listed on either the Dogma website or on the or on, you know, Untappd or anything like that. So unfortunately, we don't know what hops are in this one. But I will tell you something, that looks like an absolute hazy beast actually. So let's take a closer look at that then. So we can get rid of the brewery notes for the moment, so maybe the can will appear a little bit better. There you go. But yeah, as you can see with this one, and as you would expect, it's poured a lovely hazy yellow colour, this one. If we shine the light through that, I will say that the level of haze in this one for a 6.4%er is pretty damn impressive actually. That looks like a very, very nice beer. So yeah, I would, in terms of colour, I would compare this one to like a kind of mango juice, to be honest with you. I always like comparing the New England IPAs to different fruit juices because that's just what they look like. You can see that when we poured this beer, it I think it had, yeah, about somewhere between a quarter and a 1/3 finger of a frothy, I would say perfect white head. That's now fading away to be a very, very thin foamy layer, and it's going to leave a nice kind of big foamy ring around the edge of the glass. There's 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking to the side of the glass, as you always get, but a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there. But as I said, the level of haze on this beer for a 6.4%er is really damn impressive. So yeah, as I've told you in other videos, when it comes to these New England IPAs, as you go up the alcohol scale, you get more oats, you get more wheat in these things, so usually you get more haze, but it's not quite as simple as that. It kind of depends on what ratios and stuff they put in the beers, of course. But yeah, this one, certainly for a 6.4%er, level of haze is pretty damn impressive. But yeah, remember as well, the colour of these beers is dependent on 2 things. 1, the type of malts you use. 2, the length of the boil. So yeah, this one, most New England IPAs I think have a sort of 70 to 90 minute boil, if I remember rightly, and this one, I wonder if the nice kind of rich yellow colour that it has is down to, you know, maybe a little bit of a carapils or a slightly brown sugary orientated malt, but we'll find out when we taste it, of course. But certainly in terms of its appearance, it looks as you would expect from an IPA, or I guess to be more specific, a New England IPA. They just described this one as a juicy IPA, so yeah, I think this should be a really interesting one. So nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance. Let's take a closer look at the aroma and just see how we get on with this one then. Ooh, now that does smell pretty nice. I can see why they call it a juicy IPA, let's say that. So yeah, what I would say about this one is, it's actually got quite a, it comes across as like a very kind of relaxed aroma almost. So straight away with this beer on the malty side of things, you're going to get a lot of a lovely kind of soft, almost fluffy, white bready character coming out of it. The more you sugar it up though, you do get a little bit of wheat out of this one, I think. I feel there's a wee bit of a bitey wheatiness to this beer. But yeah, lovely soft kind of white bready character to it for sure. And yeah, you do get a bit of that bitey wheat really when you sugar the beer up, but there's quite a bit of oatiness in here as well. But I'd say that overall the malty side of the beer really leans towards a more kind of soft white bready kind of thing. I don't get too much in the way of like a, you know, Werther's Original sort of butter candy or any kind of brown sugar out of this one. This strikes me as being a little bit more of a kind of straight up, almost bready leaning. Yeah, just more of a kind of bready leaning New England IPA. Kind of like the, you know, it's kind of a little bit more like the Amazing Haze that we would have here in Sweden from Stigbergs and the Narangi, something like that. It's a more kind of a little bit more of an old school New England malt base that comes out of this one, in my opinion. But yeah, the more I smell of it, the more I get the oats coming out, and I think the oats, the smoothness of the oats really comes out a little bit later as well. But yeah, lovely aroma out of this one on the malty side of things. On the hoppy side of things as well, it's definitely quite interesting. So not really an earthiness to this one, just a tiny little bit of earthy herbal character, but nothing too prominent. You do get a nice little bit of floral aromaticity out of this one for sure. Yeah, good nice little bit of floral aromaticity to the beer. I'd say that's the main component of the green side of things actually. Yeah, it's got a nice little bit of a quite bright floral aromaticity to it, and then it's got just a wee bit of grassiness kind of sitting underneath as well. So yeah, that's definitely an interesting point to make about this one as well. The green side of the beer is quite floral and aromatic, but it's quite well balanced by the softer grassiness that's in there. But yeah, on the fruity side of things, this strikes me as quite a soft, tropical leaning New England IPA. I don't get too much in the way of like orangey citrus or whatever out of this one. This strikes me more as a kind of softer, tropically leaning one. So yeah, I want to say I wouldn't be surprised if this is like, you know, Simcoe or Victoria's Secret or something that's in there. As I've said, I really don't know about whether there are Brazilian hops, for example. I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know how common it is to grow hops in Brazil, because it is by and large quite a tropical climate, you know. So I don't know if it's too hot to grow hops there actually. You know, Argentina, of course, further south would be the ideal kind of climate for it. So I guess probably they're using a lot of American or you know, a lot of American or maybe some Australian and New Zealand hops in the beer. But it certainly has a little bit of passion fruit to it. It's got a wee bit of that pungenty passion fruit in there. There's a bit of a kind of mango as well in my mind. Yeah, there is a bit of a mango-y one to this. To me it really is, it's all about the kind of soft tropical fruits in this one. I don't get so much in the way of like oranges or, you know, limes or lemons or whatever. It is more, you know, it's passion fruit. It's got a soft kind of mango-y note to it. You'll get a few kind of softer apricot, sort of apricot-y notes out of it as well. But other than that, I don't get, you know, I don't get so much in the way of the more citrusy fruits out of this. It really is a soft tropical leaning IPA, this. I think that's definitely fair to say. So yeah, do take a little bit of time to ponder over the aroma of this one. I think that's always half the experience when it comes to craft beer. But yeah, let's have a taste of this then and see how we get on. So this one is called Reflection, 6.4% New England Hazy IPA, Juicy IPA as they are calling it, from Cervejaria Dogma in Sao Paulo in Brazil. My second in this little Brazilian mini-series. Let's get stuck into this one. Slanja, skål, or as they say in Portuguese, felicidades. Cheers. Oh yeah, very, very drinkable that. First impression of this beer is that it's got a really wet mouthfeel to it. And it's very, very drinkable. But I'm going to say thumbs up to Dogma for this. This is a nice beer. Is this the craziest one they do? I mean, I would hazard a guess that no. I would say that this one seems like it's more designed for sort of sessionability and drinkability. And I do wonder exactly when they would release this, because it strikes me that this would be a very nice kind of summer IPA. And I mean, Brazil, from what I gather, is a hot country pretty much all the time. but at the moment they will be going into their summer. You know, I'm filming this review for you in December, and you know this they will be going into their hotter months at the moment. So I can see this being a good sort of summertime IPA actually. So it makes sense. It does make sense that they want something that is quite refreshing in a lot of ways. But yeah, the more that you drink of it, it shows you a little bit more bite, I think, for sure. You definitely get a little bit more bite out of this as you go further into it. So yeah, thumbs up to Dogma for this. I'll say straight away, this is a nice beer actually, and it does make me curious to see what some of their other things are like. I think it does have a wee bit more bitterness to it as well than some of the other New England IPAs that I've come across recently, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So yeah, in the meantime, let's try and break down the flavour of this one for you and describe it properly. So yeah, for me then, straight away with this beer, you can feel that nice kind of pale malty quality just blanketing the middle of your tongue there. You can feel that just forming the base of the beer. Actually, this beer, in some ways, it does have quite a bit of crispness to it, so I do wonder if there's a wee bit of Pilsner malt in this as well. It does have a little bit of that almost dryness that you would expect of Pilsner malt actually, so really wouldn't be surprised with this one. So yeah, quite a crisp, pale malty, white bready kind of character there, and on top of that, particularly in that borderline between the middle third of your tongue and the back third of your tongue, you get a real crispness out of it. On the back third of your tongue though, there's definitely a little bit of a, you still get that crispness, but you do get a wee bit more of a kind of wheaty bite to the beer. You do get a little bit of that in this one. So yeah, that's an interesting point about this beer. I do think there's a bit of Pilsner malt in this. So yeah, the back third of your palate, that breadiness does thicken up a little bit. You get a wee bit of the smoothness. You do get a wee bit of the smoothness from the wheat in this one as well. You can feel it getting a little bit smoother there as you come further forward, but then you move into that border zone and it very quickly becomes quite dry, and that kind of that Pilsner malty dryness coming out of this one. But yeah, in the middle third of your palate, as I say, the thickness drops away. It's quite crisp and sort of white bready, if you like, and you do just feel a little bit of the kind of soft oatiness in the middle of your palate there. It's almost like a slightly dry, powdered oatiness that comes out of this beer on the malty side of things. So yeah, this is a really interesting malt base. I can't think of, you know, to be honest, off the top of my head, I can't think of any other New England IPAs that I've had recently that this one is comparable to. And this is why I like trying stuff from different places. You know, you can really see different perspectives of brewing these kind of same styles actually. So I have to say, from my kind of point of frame of reference, if you like, or my point of reference, this is a very unique New England IPA to me. So yeah, thumbs up to Dogma for this. Let's just fire the rest of it in there. Really easy to drink this beer. Yeah. Okay. Getting a little bit of gas off it, of course, but yeah, lovely, lovely IPA. Let's focus on the hoppy side of things then. Does look even a little bit more hazy after that, but yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, there is a little bit of earthiness to this one. As you move further forward along the side of the palate there, that earthiness does give way, and you do get there is quite a bit of a nice kind of piney resinous note about this one. I want to say that there's Chinook in here, because there's just, I mean, I would not be surprised if there's Columbus as well. There's something a little bit old school about the kind of bittering side of this beer, the bitter side of this one. It's almost a little bit like a just Chinook Columbus sort of West Coast. There's just something that is a little bit nostalgic about the bitter side of this beer for me. So yeah, you can feel a bit of that darker, danky pine resin along the side of your palate there. It does have a wee bit of a kind of more floral, aromatic, spicy side to it as well, which is great, and you can feel that all the way coming forward. Like I said, this is a little bit of a higher bitterness New England IPA, I guess we could say. But yeah, I certainly like that about it for sure, definitely. But yeah, round the front curve of the palate then, you do get a little bit of that softer grassiness. It's actually quite interesting how you have such a bitterness up to the front corners of your palate then. It just, you know, it just kind of becomes really light and grassy, although in fairness, the further you go into the aftertaste, you can feel a few of those kind of resins just creeping around there and getting hold in the beer, so that is really quite interesting. But yeah, the front third of your palate then, that's where you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters roll their way out of the beer. And again, this one, it actually is a lot more pungent in its flavours than you would actually think from the aroma. The aroma is actually quite unassuming on this beer. That was the word I was looking for earlier, I think. It's quite an unassuming aroma, this beer, but this is really a more bitter example of these big, it's just a big more bitter and bold example of these New England IPAs. So this is really an interesting one. This is definitely one of the, you know, this is a really quite quirky New England IPA from my frame of reference. So yeah, for me then, where do we start with the fruity side of this beer then? So yeah, as I always say, that front third of your palate, you get that nice oily bubble where those fruity esters roll their way out of the hops. So if you go towards the back of that front third of your palate, you do get a wee bit of a stronger, darker grapefruit in there. And as I say, I suspect there's one or both of Columbus and Chinook in this one, so that would make sense. As you move further forward from that, you do get a bit of a lighter kind of passion fruity note to the beer, and then you get some of these kind of softer tropical fruits. But it's quite interesting because underneath that front third of your palate, you do get a little bit of the kind of almost crisp white bready kind of thing coming forward, and you've also got you can feel some on the front edge of your palate, you can feel some of those piney resinous notes just pushing their way out of this beer as well. So again, that's another really interesting quirk to this beer. But yeah, I do like this one for sure, definitely. So yeah, as you move further forward from that, your tropical fruits get a little bit lighter, you get a wee bit of mango out of it, and as you read, this one's interesting because the tropical fruits spread all the way forward on that edge of your tongue, which is quite unusual. I'd be curious to know what hop it is that's actually, I think there's maybe only one or two hops in this beyond the bittering hops actually, but yeah, you get, as I say, bit of a darker grapefruit, a wee bit of passion fruit, some softer mangoes, and then a little bit of a you get a wee bit of those just lighter papaya type flavours out of this one, you know, the apricot kind of thing. It's a very straight up one, this. I mean, I wonder if this could this be just a straight up Citra beer, this one? Could it be something like that? Yeah. Victoria's Secret would be the other hop that would kind of ring true with this one, because Victoria's Secret has a few of those little kind of complexities and stuff like that with it. It could be Galaxy as well. I think Galaxy is quite a popular hop in Brazil, because that you know, that would make sense, because Galaxy, again, it has that kind of more pungenty passion fruit, and then you get the kind of softer tropical fruits off it. So I think this one, I've got a feeling this one's either Victoria's Secret or Galaxy. I'm more leaning towards that, to be honest. And as I say, I would be curious to know the hops, but I think definitely Chinook, Columbus is the bittering hop, and then quite possibly it might be Galaxy or Victoria's Secret is one of the aroma flavour hops in this. I don't think it's Citra. If it was Citra, you'd have a wee bit more of a, you know, like sort of gooseberry flavour or something, I would think. So yeah, I would be curious to know about that. I always like playing Guess the Hops with these beers, but the main takeaway is that it's a really nice New England hazy IPA, however you want to call it. So thumbs up to Cervejaria Dogma for this. This is really interesting for me. So yeah, I think we've described the flavour profile of this beer pretty solidly just now. It's quite an interesting one for sure. So yeah, let's talk about the mouthfeel of this beer then. So for me, as I said to you at the start of the video, this comes across as quite a wet New England IPA, definitely. I mean, it feels very, very clean in the same way that some of the kind of Norwegian and Northern Swedish beers actually come across. So again, that's an interesting perspective to take on this one. The carbonation for me is quite crisp, and I think that's aided by the presence of what I suspect is Pilsner malt in this one. So yeah, it's got quite a crisp carbonation to it. And overall, the mouthfeel is quite wet actually. I wouldn't even describe it as slick or anything like that. It's just quite a wet beer, this one. In terms of hoppy bitterness, this one I think has to be a bit higher. This has got to be like maybe a 70-80 IBU beer. This one really has an almost West Coast level of bitterness to it, in my opinion. The malt base, like I said, is quite how would we say, the malt base, I would say, is quite kind of light and crisp and almost bready, I guess you could say, as well. And it does have that bit of kind of dryness from the Pilsner malt too, so the malty side of this beer is quite interesting and quite quirky for this particular style of IPA, if you like. But yeah, you do get a nice, there's a nice bit of juicy fruitiness to it, but I think the fruits are actually quite pungent in this, and you've got a big kind of piney resinous quality to this beer as well. Like I said, a bit of spicy floral aromaticity. The spice and the piney resins really do build in this one the further you go into the aftertaste. So yeah, definitely a more bitter, a more kind of crisp, but also still slightly wetter take on the New England IPA. So this has been a very, very quirky beer to review, but this is why I do it. You know, I love trying things like this that are a little bit kind of random compared to what you'd normally expect. So yeah, big thumbs up to Cervejaria Dogma for this. I do hope I can try a few more of their beers at some point in the future. I'd love to try one of their other New England IPAs and see how that compares, but at the same time I would be very curious to try one of their West Coast IPAs, and if they've got lagers and stouts and stuff like that, then obviously those would be interesting as well. So fingers crossed we actually can review a few more beers from Dogma at some point in the future. That would be very, very nice. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one then. So this one was the Reflection, 6.4% juicy IPA as they call it. In my opinion, a more kind of bitter and crisp take on the New England IPA, but a really, really nice beer. And this one was from Cervejaria Dogma in Sao Paulo in Brazil, and it's really worth checking out actually. These guys have got a very good reputation, as I told you earlier in the video, and it's been really cool to introduce this brewery to you here on the channel actually. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. Thank you again for watching my reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Cervejaria Dogma. You will be able to see some more Brazilian beers coming up on the channel soon, and I hope you enjoy the mini-series, and do let me know some other breweries and stuff that I should be checking out. But in the meantime, this one was the Reflection, 6.4% New England IPA from Cervejaria Dogma in Sao Paulo in Brazil. Slanja, skål, felicidades, and thanks for watching. Cheers.